Fatphobia never left. Yes, it is worse because our government is even more conservative than it ever has been, but fatphobia never left. Thin was always in because of its proximity to whiteness, and thin will always be in as long as capitalism and racism exists. The medical industry is just like any other industry. They want our money. And so now, in this day and age, they are selling GLP-1 products everywhere, and they're not cheap, and they're not cheap for a reason. The beauty and the fitness industry operates the same exact way. There's a reason why these procedures and these enhancements and these fillers and these medications and these products and these trainers and these nutritionists and these gyms like Equinox and these classes like Barry's Boot Camp, there's a reason they all are as expensive as they are, because they want to be seen as a class status symbol. It's because historically thin equals rich, and therefore thin equals more favorable, and historically fat equals poor, fat equals lazy, fat equals unproductive, fat equals only eats processed food. But why? Once upon a time, when access to any food was a good thing, I have gotten comments like this before. Once upon a time, larger bodies were seen as wealthy, were seen as healthy to bear children. But then, long story short, because of greed and colonization, all of our problems in our world now will always trace back to making the rich richer and making the poor poorer. So why do people associate fat with only eating processed food, and therefore fat equals poor, and therefore poor equals treated like absolutely nothing? Absolutely no respect for poor people. Think about why that is. Things like food deserts, or more appropriately named food apartheid, because it is purposeful, it is systemic, it is environmental racism. It should not even be a thing, but guess where it is a thing? In predominantly low income Black and brown communities. Black and brown communities are denied access to affordable, nutritious food every single day. And at the same time, other Black and brown communities, like here in New York City, like home in the Bay Area, companies, and the city are gentrifying their neighborhoods to make what? New bougie apartment complexes, more houses, grocery stores like Whole Foods and Sprouts and Targets, and fancy gyms. For who? There are literally billionaires and millionaires with all the money and resources that we need to give people equal access to the food that we need to fuel and take care of our bodies, but instead they would rather make more money and make people buy Ozempic. The hate for fat people will always trace back to the hate for poor people and the hate for Black and brown people. This is why fatphobia is a form of ableism. Look at how institutions like airlines, restaurants, Broadway theaters, these venues that are hundreds of years old, not even bothering to update their seats. Think about who gets to sit in those seats. Think about who wasn't even allowed to go to the theater back then. Think about who still can't access going to the theater now. Public spaces and transportation purposefully make their seats only for certain people to sit comfortably in. That is on purpose. Please do not forget that our government, who only wants our money, who only wants our labor, and companies who only want our money and only want our labor, they want us to focus on making our bodies smaller so we cannot focus on resisting and overpowering them. To them, smaller bodies equal easier to control. With the recent files that have been released, I also saw someone post the connection to how these evil politicians and evil rich people in those files and people like them are obsessed with us making our bodies smaller and younger because they are obsessed with children. So please be gentle with yourself. Always, but especially when you find yourself critical of your body. We live in a world where people are starving, and yet it makes us feel guilty for the kinds of food that we eat. When we win the revolution, I see a world that sees all food as good, all food as rich in life. Please be gentle with yourself. Be gentle with each other. Talk to your therapist about where this comes from for you, where this started. A lot of times it comes from where the adults in our lives learned it from. How the adults in our lives talk to us, talk to each other, talk to themselves around us. It comes from the sports teams and dance teams and programs and theater departments that we grew up in. And of course, the media that we consumed and still consume today. So, if you have a doctor that's telling you you just need to lose weight or that you just need to be put on these weight loss products, find another doctor. You deserve a better one. If you are shopping from a brand and you see that they only go up to a XXL, go support a brand that actually does have inclusive sizes. And if family or friends comment on your body, call them out on it. All you need to say is, I don't want you commenting on my body. That's it. You don't ever need any further explanation, and that should be understood and respected. How dare anybody, even our own sometimes, but especially our oppressors, make us forget, even for a second, that the bodies and the faces that we inherited from our ancestors are anything but made of goodness and love and strength. So if you haven't heard this today yet, your body is a good body, a fuerte body. All my love, always and always. I'm Trisha Fuerte, and this is Fuerte Body.